Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. I hope you had a great year. But either way, I hope 2024 into the rest of the years would be the beginning of the best years of your life. Now, today's true crime story makes me very angry, actually. I'm trying not to take it personal, but I can't help myself because it is about a video that is making the rounds on social media coming from China, actually. And it shows the moment when a doctor actually put his fists onto an 82-year-old patient in her face 3 times whilst he was in the process of performing a surgery on her eyes, just because she kept moving as he was performing the surgery. Yeah, you heard me right, and I hope you are angry too, because it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not a medical expert, but I have a bit of knowledge in the medical field, and it's enough for me to know for a fact that this act by the doctor is not part of any medical procedure. It's not part of any medical protocol. At no point do you have to put your fists on the face of a patient, punch the person 3 times just because the person is moving whilst you are operating. And to think of it, it's also an 82-year-old woman. It's like you have just breached everything that you are not supposed to breach. Now, according to my research, this incident actually happened in 2019, but it was sort of kept under the wraps by the people who were supposed to have exposed it. And the footage has now gone viral on Chinese social media this week, and as is expected, it has sparked an outrage online. And like I said, myself, I'm also angry. As soon as I saw this footage, I was like, what is going on here? What is going on here? Now, the authorities at the hospital are now investigating the incident, but as it stands now, the surgeon at the center of the issue has been suspended, and the CEO of the hospital has also been dismissed. But if you watch this footage, there were people there with this surgeon when he was putting his fists on this 82-year-old woman who was actually also sedated under anesthesia. So what did these people do? What did they have to do, and what did they do? I'll come to that bit. But then the hospital group are saying that the surgeon punched the woman in the face because the patient wouldn't stop moving during surgery. And the hospital group's name is Aier China, and they are saying that this incident took place in its hospital in Guizhou, a southwestern Chinese city, which is about, I think, 300 miles west of Hong Kong. Now, the hospital group are also saying that the patient was an 82-year-old woman. Yes, they've confirmed it here. And during the surgery, she was under a local anesthesia, and she had intolerance. Now, they are saying that based on this, she was actually moving her head and her eyeballs as the doctor was performing the surgery. And by virtue of the actions of the doctor, by putting his fists on her 3 times, this woman ended up suffering bruises on her forehead due to the attack. You know, I'm trying so much not to sort of lash out, but well, let me keep it cool because I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And to top it all, management at the Guizhou hospital, when this occurred, they apologized for the incident and paid 500 yuan in compensation to the patient. And this is according to the son of this patient. Now, you might be wondering, how much is 500 yuan? 500 yuan is just around the equivalent of 55 euros. Yeah, you heard me right. 55 euros for this. Now, the son of this victim told news outlets that his mother is now blind in her left eye, although it was not clear if this was due to the incident caused by the doctor or for another reason. Because, to be fair, mind you, she was also there to be operated on her eye. But if in performing this same operation, this doctor is also doing what he did. Now, we are not sure what caused her to be blind in one eye. So, I just don't get it. And here are my 2 cents. First of all, I'll start with the doctor. You know, there are people who are of the view that certain jobs like the medical field, doctors, nurses, police officers, fire service, the military, teachers are a calling. And I believe in that. I believe that those jobs are a calling. You feel it in your spirit that this is where I need to be. And it's not just because you feel you need to be there, but when you are there, your spirit and your being gets you to give off your best, because these are positions where you are going to have to step up and be there for vulnerable people. In that, you are going to have to be there to either protect people or save people, sometimes to the detriment of your own safety or health. So it takes someone who has empathy, someone who feels for people, someone who appreciates sympathy, someone who can feel people's pain without the pain itself being inflicted on them, someone who appreciates what people are going through. But as of late, most of these professions have been flooded by people who are just chasing money. So you find that they might actually be good at the job in terms of the skill, but the soft skills that are required to get them to appreciate what their patients are going through are not there. So they treat their patients or they treat their stakeholders like robots. And that is where the problem is. They begin to do things because they feel they are doing a favor to their patients or stakeholders. And for me, that is what I see playing out here. Even in my jurisdiction, Ghana, I have personally met some doctors who I believe are not fit to be performing that role. Not because they are not skilled in terms of the hard skills, but because of how they treat their patients. And that is playing out here. How can you, the same doctor trying to operate on her eye, be the same one who is doing this to the woman by putting your hands on her face? An 82-year-old woman, that's like a grandma, and she's under anesthesis. And if you are familiar with surgeries and anesthesis, you realize that sometimes the person might be doing certain things involuntarily by way of reaction to the drugs. And it's also even been reported that this doctor only spoke a local dialect and did not appear to understand the language that the surgeon was using to warn her, because the surgeon was speaking Mandarin. And so the surgeon got angry. And then he did what he did to her. I'm trying not to use some words for this surgeon, but I think that it is very, very, very unprofessional at the highest level. At the highest level, even if she wasn't a patient, doing what he did is still very, very bad. Not to talk of the fact that she's a patient, an 82-year-old woman, and she's sedated or under anesthesis. How vulnerable can she be again to be at his mercy for saving as a doctor? And yet, this is how he treated her. And then the next bit is on the people who were with him there. These people kept it under the wraps. They were quiet, and that is where some of our problems come from. They should have escalated this. They should have reported him. And the footage was there. This is a CCTV footage. So between the people who were physically there with him and the people who had the CCTV footage from whichever security control room, how come the incident didn't come out? I don't get it. How come it didn't come out? And I wouldn't be surprised. It could probably be because he's one of the top surgeons in whichever place he finds himself, and people are treating him like a god. But I think that he is a red flag and a danger to patients if this is how he's behaving, no matter how skilled he is. Because your skills cannot save patients if you are like this. Yeah, that is my candid opinion. And the other bit also is to the son. For me, personally, I believe that if you take someone to the hospital, or if you accompany somebody to the hospital, it's your duty to look out for the person in his or her dealings with the hospital. Because sometimes some of these hospitals have very unprofessional staff who can do some crazy things. Granted, this has happened here. It's not likely the son was actually in the operating room, so he couldn't have seen this in real time. But my problem with him is when it was exposed and he had to take a compensation equivalent to 55 euro, when he in fact has seen that his mom has been left blind in one eye, I think that he could have done better. For me, it's not really about the money, but I think he could have fought the hospital with a tougher backbone, such that he could have taken them on legally and pushed it all the way, just to make a case for his mom and sort of get justice for her. Because you can't do this to a patient, irrespective of whether that was the cause of her ending up being blind in one eye or not. That justice is owed her, and he should have fought harder. I'm not trying to judge him fully, because I also don't know whether he tried doing so and maybe the system didn't allow him to, because some of these doctors are quite connected. I've had run-ins with some of them myself, and hey, as a doctor, you won't get away with treating my loved one like that. No, I'll come after you. Legally, of course. So I believe that the son could have done more than he did, unless of course he did or he tried doing, but the system didn't allow him to do so, and the hospital in itself too. I don't think that this should be enough. The surgeon has been suspended, the CEO has been dismissed. What about the people who were there? All the people responsible for the cover-up, and even the surgeon? It shouldn't be just about dismissal. Anyone who is found fully culpable, either explicitly or impliedly, should face prosecution per the laws. Because in there is also battery, alongside other laws which have been compromised. Not to talk about the doctor's oath. That surgeon should be losing his license. These are examples that should be set out there so that it's feedback to the rest of the medical team wherever you find yourself. Because, you know, when people come to the hospital, they are dealing with so much. So the last thing that is needed is medical staff who are unprofessional and risking the lives of people. And sometimes it becomes very sad, because this could actually be the root cause of a family or someone losing a loved one at the hospital. But the hospital would also find a way to state a different cause of death, and it just ends there. If you don't probe deeper, if you are not critical, if you are not well versed in their operations, you might not even know, you might not even suspect anything, and you just walk away, and it keeps repeating. I've done a case about this nurse who was just doing horrible things to some babies in the UK. But on the outside, she seemed like a very nice person. People are not what they seem, or most people are not what they seem anymore. If you accompany someone to a hospital, please, I'm not saying don't be nice to the medical team, be nice to them, but keep an eye out for all the right things to be done for the person with whom you went to the hospital with. That is the best thing you can do for that person in terms of supporting the person. Be there, be vigilant, and when they know that is there for the person, they will be on their toes to give the person the best. Ask questions, be vigilant, observe, and it can make a difference. And when there's an issue, escalate it. Let's hold them to their medical oath. Let's hold them to their professional conduct standards. These are very serious times. And we can't have a surgeon, whatever pedigree he is on, deciding that whilst operating on an 82-year-old woman who is under anesthesia, he decides to put fists on her just because she couldn't understand his instructions and she was moving her head and her eye. It could be out of pain. It could be anything. It could have even been because maybe the anesthesia is wearing off and she's feeling the pain, and those movements are as a reaction to the pain she's feeling. So it could be anything. And as a doctor, he should have found a way to try and find out from her what is going on or manage the situation. I am no expert, but at least these two things are better than what he resorted to. I'm following this case and I'm eager to see how it plays out. I'm hoping that the hospital itself will get sued and all the groups associated with it as well, if that is possible, so that they will take deeper steps to check their internal controls and take positive steps to protect their patients, whether they are rich or poor. Subscribe to this channel if you are yet to do so. Enjoy yourselves during this Christmas holidays and the New Year, but hey, keep an eye out and stay safe out there. Catch you next time.